You Streetlight Crusaders, and I guess a couple of you wrestling fans that are still up for tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to find out what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. And by the way, we almost forgot to mention that this is the final Raw before WrestleMania, and also, besides that, I do believe this is the 1401 episode. 1401? Yeah, episode 1401. We forgot, last week was episode 1400. Why didn't they mention that? Well, besides that, folks, Monday Night Raw would kick off with a recap of The Undertaker and AJ Styles before their phenomenal clash at the grandest stage of them all, only for The Undertaker to pop up and say, hey, you know, all that stuff that you said does have a little bit of truth to it, but the fact that you said you wouldn't call me out 10 years ago, you're damn right you wouldn't call me out, because you didn't have what it takes to call me out, because you were in a big fish in a small pond, and you didn't have what it takes to go up against the likes of The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Booker T, and Mick Foley. Didn't include his own half-brother Kane in that lineup, along with a litany list of other great superstars that was around in that current time, but then would say the phenomenal one my ass, and you decided to make it personal once you decided to mention my wife, Michelle McCool. Is it because that she can do the Fate Breaker, aka the Styles Clash, better than you and actually got it over? And would even recognize the truths that AJ Styles would say about him having more matches behind him than in front of him, but would still say at WrestleMania he's gonna make them famous. Not only that, but he hopes to bring Gallows and Anderson into this match so he can give them a triangle of hell during that said match, the Boneyard match that AJ Styles suggested for their match at WrestleMania. But then would give an eerie message at the end by saying that you will get hurt, you will suffer, and you will pay the price at WrestleMania, but most importantly of all, you will rest in peace. All before lowering his head to reveal a headstone with AJ Styles' name and the date he was born and the possible date he will die on that Boneyard match that will take place at the Showcase of the Immortals. That is too big for one night. You know, they kept saying it over and over again. I might as well include it as well, that the WrestleMania is too big for one night. My God, you could have turned that into a drinking game by the end of this night. But besides that quote that they kept taking on over and over again, you would see the man Becky Lynch arriving in style once again in her customized 18-wheeler truck, only for her to say that what Shayna Baszler said last week was true. The fact that if she loses that championship at WrestleMania, it would destroy her because she doesn't know how to be anything but the champ now, and would then mention the fact that she's been walking a razor blade edge ever since last year's WrestleMania, only for them to replay what happened at last year's WrestleMania main event, which featured Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, and herself, with her going out as Becky Two Belts, only until Extreme Rules, where she would lose one of her championships to one Charlotte Flair. Yeah, just giving people a history lesson here, just in case they forgot. Only for Becky Lynch to counteract by saying, well, if I lose, I won't know who I am, but if you lose, you go back to being what you were before, which is Ronda Rousey's shadow. So who is this match really going to destroy if they lose? And then, before Becky Lynch can make any more proclamations about WrestleMania, from out of nowhere, and I guess from out of Ronda Rousey's shadow, according to Becky Lynch, you would see none other than the Queen of Spades herself locking on the Karafuda clutch, or the Karafuda clutch, we keep getting the name of the move wrong, and actually choking out Becky Lynch, slamming her head into the announce table, only to pick her up in a half powerbomb-like position and swing her right into the announce table, leaving her broken in a heap, picking up the championship, celebrating with it, only to throw it on to Becky Lynch and walk away from the crime scene that she just caused. Oh man, I can only imagine how that match is gonna go down on Saturday or Sunday, depending on what day they decide to have this epic clash between NXT and Monday Night Raw. And speaking of epic clashes from people from NXT and Raw, folks, we might as well fast forward and go to the other championship match that involves the NXT Championship, which saw Rhea Ripley actually walking to the arena about to make her way to Monday Night Raw from the Performance Center, only to get attacked from behind by Charlotte Flair for her to say, "See you at WrestleMania, champ." Woo! Only for Rhea Ripley to get up and say, "Yeah, you will. You will." And I got a feeling that light a fire under her that most likely will cost Charlotte the match. But who knows? And despite all that, folks, besides action outside of the ring, inside of the ring, the first match to take place on Monday Night Raw would see Aleister Black going one-on-one against Jason Cade. And during this match, Aleister Black, who would avoid all the attacks of one Jason Cade, only to sit in an Indian-style position in the ring for Jason Cade to say, "Oh, what do I do with this? Hey, tell him to get up." And then to try to attack him again, only for that to go awry. After his foot would get caught, he would hit Aleister with an enziguri, and that would be the only amount of offense he would get during this match, because next thing you know, roundhouse kick to the face, then into a black mass, sending the lights to fade to black for Jason Cade for Aleister Black to win this match in quick-like fashion via pinfall. And the funniest thing about all this is, folks, is after this match was over, on Twitter, he would report the only reason he lost this match is because he got distracted by a fan. What fan? You mean the fan in the roof? There was no fans in attendance for that. Anyway, folks, besides that comical moment, the next match to take place on Monday Night Raw would see none other than Kevin Owens and the Street Profits teaming up to go against none other than the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, Angel Garza, and of course now, instead of none other than El Idolo Andrade Cien Almas, now none other than Austin Theory with Zelina Vega in a 6-man tag team match. But if you're wondering at home why in the world El Idolo was not there that night, well, unfortunately, according to Zelina Vega, Andrade Cien Almas got a severe rib injury and is unable to compete not only at WrestleMania, but tonight as well, and leaving Zelina Vega to go pick up a fresh new talent to replace him, not only for the match at WrestleMania, but for the match tonight in the form of one Austin Theory. And the only thing I know about Austin Theory, folks, and I'm sorry if I don't know much about him, was that one incident he got into with not only the man who's had a bit of a murderer's row feel when he gets to the ring, one Tommaso Ciampa, almost beating the living daylights out of him, and then another incident that he got into with Keith Lee where he got pounced outside of the ring and hit with a Big Bang catastrophe in less than a minute. But how did he fare during this match? Well, besides pulling off a beautiful Rolling Thunder-like drop kick to the face of one member of the Street Profits, I do believe it was Montez Ford during this said match, and not only that, but also trying to keep Kevin Owens out of the ring at the same time while trying to protect the Monday Night Messiah, which most likely that might get him a Disciples t-shirt in the near future. This match would come to an end again with not only one of the most painful, and I mean painful things I've seen in a long time in the wrestling ring, or at least outside of it, when Montez Ford tried to go for his tope suicida rope flip plancha to the outside of the ring. Yeah, let's just say he missed the target completely and would land flat on his back on that metal ramp and would not get up. But luckily for him, Kevin Owens would be right there on the scene to hit Angel Garza with a Stone Cold or a KO stunner, only for him to win the match. But unfortunately, after the match was over, would get hit with a blackout by Seth Rollins. But still your winners, Kevin Owens and the Street Profits. And after the match was over, in a series of replays and mentionings of shows that are gonna hit on Netflix starring The Big Show, you would then see Kevin Owens saying that after last week, after what Seth Rollins said, you definitely proved everybody right here at the Performance Center that you were an arrogant dipshit back when you were in NXT, that you think you knew everything, that you thought you know better than everybody else around you. And then at WrestleMania, he's gonna get his first ever WrestleMania moment by proving that you're not a messiah, you're not a god, you're not a prophet, and he's going to burn it down at WrestleMania. Or should I say KO Mania, with the new shirt that Kevin Owens was wearing featuring KO Mania 4 on that said shirt. So yeah, KO Mania is back, folks, and I got a feeling this year will be a little bit more successful than the prior KO Manias that came before it. We hope. Then immediately after that promo from Kevin Owens, we would go backstage to the Rated R superstar himself, actually talking about that he's honest, that he is a junkie for himself because he's a fan. He came from this. That if you're not a person who's a fan of this, then you should just get out of the way. And would then bring it back to Randy Orton after saying that what he said last week about giving the ultimate opportunity of being a part of Evolution. He said being a man with grit is not accepting to be Evolution's lackey, which, yeah, pretty much Randy Orton was a lackey of Evolution until he won the World Heavyweight Championship, and would promise that at WrestleMania this year that he's gonna put Randy Orton in a hole so deep that he won't be able to get out of it during their last man standing match that will take place either Saturday or Sunday, we do not know. And after that emotional promo from Edge, we would then go immediately into another match featuring none other than one half of the women's tag team champions, Asuka, going one-on-one against Kaden Carter. And Kaden Carter, another person from NXT, trying to step up to the plate to prove who she is, because Asuka, besides speaking Japanese, would say, "Who are you?" and would exactly know who she was after that running drop kick to start the match. And then after countering a roll-up pin from Asuka into a basement shotgun drop kick to the face for near fall, Asuka would say, "Playtime's over," do a buzzsaw kick to the head of one Kaden Carter, and then would follow it up with not only her ankle capture German suplex, but would also hit her with a Asuka lock, causing Kaden Carter to tap out in the center of the ring for Asuka to win this match easy peasy via submission. And for her to get back on the microphone and talk more trash against Alexa Bliss and her opponents that are going to be featured at WrestleMania this year, only for them to agree, and them being Byron Saxton and Tom Phillips at the announce table, for them to go into the final part of the night, besides Brock Lesnar fighting against Rey Mysterio at the Survivor Series this past year, which was an absolute massacre, to see Brock Lesnar getting hyped up by one Paul Heyman once again. For Paul Heyman to say, for the past 20 years, in and out of this ring, you would always see Brock Lesnar at the end of this match for the go-home spot before WrestleMania, because Brock Lesnar is the man they strike at the Beast to beat at WrestleMania. Which is true, seeing the fact that this will be the second year in a row that a Royal Rumble winner would go against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And then would say that Drew McIntyre, out of all the people in the back, is truly a unique and special wrestler, or superstar in this case, but he would also say The Rock was special, Hogan was special, Randy Couture was special, and anybody else who went up against the Beast was special as well, but by the end of it all, they all ended up being Brock's bitch. According to Paul Heyman, before anybody says anything, according to Paul Heyman, that's what everybody would end up being: victimized, conquered, and dominated by one Brock Lesnar whenever he steps into the ring. And it will be the same result by the end of WrestleMania. Now, granted, he didn't say that end part, but nevertheless, he would end with some very controversial words that I got a feeling that Drew McIntyre on the top of whatever Scottish Highland Hills where he was training during that cool video they released for WrestleMania for Drew McIntyre and his training process is probably hearing that, and it's gonna respond with a Claymore kick in the face of one Brock Lesnar. And with all of that said, folks, and with that being the main event of the night and pretty much the wrap-up for Raw before Mania, we will be doing a match card review for the entire match card for this year's WrestleMania. And if my memory serves me correct, this would be, the 7th year in a row we would be doing a review for WrestleMania, and I got a feeling it's a lucky number on our half. But with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into the music, and when we return, we'll be back with more streetlight shenanigans as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned.